The death of Chester Bennington is one of the most tragic things to happen to rock music. So if you don't know who Chester was, he was the lead singer of the band Linkin Park. Obviously, you've probably heard of Linkin Park or know a number of their songs, probably because they're one of the biggest rock bands of all time. But Chester's life wasn't easy. He was born on March 20th, 1976 in Phoenix, Arizona. His mother was a nurse and his dad worked as a police detective who investigated child sex abuse. When Chester was only 7 years old, an older male friend of his allegedly began to sexually abuse him. And even though his dad was someone who investigated cases like this, he was afraid to report what was happening. This abuse allegedly lasted from when Chester was 7 until the time he was 13, when he finally told his dad the name of his abuser. But no charges were ever filed. His parents then divorced when he was 11 years old, and he started using all sorts of different drugs to try and cope with the pain. He was often bullied and went through a lot when he was a kid, but eventually he moved in with his mom, got a job at Burger King, and started to find some stability. Then came Linkin Park, and when Linkin Park started getting big, they became the biggest band on the planet. And everything seemed to be going so great for Chester. The band won so many awards, so many of their albums went platinum. It was a crazy career that Linkin Park had. But on July 20th, 2017, Chester Bennington would take his own life in his home in California. After Chester's death, his wife shared this photo, which was taken only a few days before he would go on to take his own life. And obviously, as you can see, he's smiling in the photo with his wife and children. There's nothing that seems amiss. She also shared the following video, which was recorded about 36 hours before he would be found dead.
Okay, and then... What do you guys have?
Chocolate pudding or canned dog. Let's hope for the best, bro. I just treat myself now.
Same thing.
Okay, just a minute.
Double dog screw.
I either got rotten egg or something else.
3, 2, 1, go.
So a short while before his death, Chester had been texting a close friend of his about his sobriety journey. He told him he'd been sober for the previous 6 months, but that it was an hour-by-hour issue, which obviously shows that his addiction was in one of the latest stages it can be in. So on July 20th, 2017, Chester drove home from his family vacation back to his house in California. He told his wife and kids he had to go home to record a commercial, and shortly afterwards, he was found by an employee hanging inside of his home. Apparently, Chester's housekeeper had come to the house that day and discovered his body hanging from his bedroom door. Obviously, this was very, very shocking, and nobody could have really seen this coming. It's just a tragedy all around. After the final autopsy reports were finished, Chester's death was obviously ruled a suicide. And in an eerie twist of fate, Chester actually hanged himself on what would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday, Chris Cornell having hanged himself only a few months prior. Obviously, this was a huge hit to the music world. Linkin Park hasn't released any new music and doesn't plan on touring anytime soon, and honestly, I doubt that they ever will.